Listen to me. Every single one of you woke up today with two voices fighting inside your head. One is the voice of comfort, telling you to stay the same. The other is the voice of greatness, whispering that you are more than this moment. And here's the truth, whichever voice you feed in 2025, that's the life you're going to live. Psychologists call it cognitive dissonance, that uneasy feeling when you know you're capable of more, but you keep settling for less, and you feel it, don't you? That frustration, that quiet anger when you look in the mirror and know deep down you're not living at your highest level. This year isn't just another year, it's your test. Not against the world, not against your boss, not against your circumstances. It's a test against yourself. Because the hardest battle you will ever fight is between who you are and who you know you could become. And the only one who decides the winner is you right now. In this very moment, there are two versions of you. The person you see in the mirror today, and the person you were created to become, the space between those two versions. That's on you. That's the distance you either close with discipline or widen with excuses. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." That's not philosophy in a book, that's real life. Because too many of us spend our days talking about what we want, dreaming about what we could do, but never stepping into it. Think about it. Every choice you make, every decision, every habit is a vote for one version of yourself. When you hit the snooze button, instead of rising up, you're casting a vote for the weaker version. But when you get up before the sun and grind while the world is still asleep, you're casting a vote for the greater version of yourself. That's how you shape destiny, not in one giant leap, but in the small, daily choices that no one else sees. The ancient Greeks believed in arete, excellence, not excellence as a prize, but as a duty, a standard of living. That's what this is about. You owe it to yourself to strive for excellence because no one else can live your potential for you. Imagine a farmer who has a field full of fertile soil, but never plants the seed. He can talk about the harvest all he wants, but until he puts his hands in the dirt, nothing grows. That's life. You can have the talent, you can have the vision, but if you don't move, nothing changes. You gotta decide which version of yourself you're gonna feed in 2025. The one that hides behind fear or the one that steps into greatness. And here's the truth, the version you choose will either haunt you or honor you. The only thing standing between who you are and who you could become is you. Success is your responsibility. Nobody owes you anything, not your family, not your boss, not society. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you take back control. Epictetus, the great Stoic, said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that's exactly what this year demands of you, mastery. Not of the world, but of your choices, your actions, your discipline. Because success doesn't fall from the sky. It's built brick by the hands willing to do the work. Too many people walk through life pointing fingers. If my parents had supported me more, if my environment was different, if I had more resources. But the truth is, history is full of men and women who had nothing and turned it into something. They didn't wait for help. They didn't cry about unfairness. They carried the weight themselves. Think of a craftsman with nothing but his tools. He doesn't wait for perfect wood. He takes what's in front of him and makes it into something of value. That's what you got to do with your life. Success is like a contract you sign with yourself. You agree to pay the price in sweat, sacrifice, and persistence. And nobody can sign it for you. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Your daily habits determine whether you rise or whether you stay stuck. When you take responsibility, you stop waiting for opportunity and start creating it. I've seen people spend years waiting for someone to hand them a breakthrough when the breakthrough was always in their own hands. You're not entitled to success, you're responsible for it. And the beauty of that truth is this: if you're responsible, then you're also capable of changing everything, capable of building wealth, capable of creating a future that belongs to you. So hear me clearly, success is not owed to you, it's owed by you. And until you accept that responsibility, you will keep living beneath what you were created for. Too many people waste their lives blaming their circumstances, their past, or the people around them, and they don't even realize what they're doing. They're handing away their power. The moment you say it's because of them, it's because of what happened to me, it's because life isn't fair, you've put your future in someone else's hands. And let me tell you, nobody's going to fight for your dream like you will. The philosopher Seneca said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." And that's the truth. Most of the walls you think are in front of you are walls you built with excuses. Think about it. Two people can grow up in the same neighborhood, face the same struggles, deal with the same pain, and yet one rises while the other remains stuck. What's the difference? Ownership. One says, I will not let this define me, and the other says, this is why I can't. You see it in athletes all the time. One tears a ligament and uses rehab as fuel to come back stronger, while another says, my career is over. Same injury, two different responses. The difference isn't the problem, it's the perspective. You gotta stop rehearsing your hardships like they're the reason you can't win. Yes, life has been unfair. Yes, you've been through things that broke you. But hear me, those scars can either be your excuse or they can be your evidence. Evidence that you survived, evidence that you can endure, evidence that you're still standing and still capable of fighting. When you blame others, you stay powerless. When you take ownership, you take back control. Stop pointing the finger outward, point it inward. Because the person you're looking for to fix your life is already in the mirror. And the moment you stop blaming and start owning, that's the moment everything in your life begins to change. Perfection has paralyzed more dreams than failure ever could. Some of you are waiting for the stars to align, for the conditions to be flawless, for every piece of the puzzle to fall neatly into place before you begin. And because of that, you've been standing still while your life slips by. Plato once wrote, the beginning is the most important part of the work. Not the perfect beginning, not the flawless plan, just the beginning. Because it's in the starting, not the stalling, that greatness is built. Think about an artist with a blank canvas. If they wait until the exact perfect brushstroke comes to mind, that canvas will stay empty forever. But when they put down the first line, even if it's rough, something begins to take shape. That's life. The perfect time doesn't exist. The perfect plan doesn't exist. What exists is the discipline to take the first step, knowing you'll learn and adjust along the way. I've seen people talk themselves out of opportunity because they convinced themselves they weren't ready. But readiness isn't something you wait for, it's something you create. When a seed is planted, it doesn't wait for perfect weather. It pushes through the soil, rain or shine, because its nature is to grow. You're the same. Growth comes not when everything is aligned, but when you choose to push forward anyway. Lao Tzu said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That single step is always imperfect, always messy, but it's necessary. Don't let the illusion of perfection rob you of progress. The only way to mastery is through motion, through mistakes, through moments where you fall flat but refuse to quit. So stop waiting, stop overthinking, stop believing that you need flawless conditions to rise. You owe it to yourself to begin, right here, right now. Because if you don't start today, tomorrow will look just like yesterday. Life doesn't answer to your excuses, it answers to your actions. You can cry about what you didn't have, complain about what went wrong, or justify why you're not where you want to be, but none of that moves the needle. The world doesn't reward intention, it rewards execution. As Hesiod, one of the earliest Greek poets, said, if you add a little to a little and do this often, soon that little will become great. That means even the smallest consistent actions carry more weight than the biggest excuses ever will. Picture a farmer again. He can stand in his field all day saying, it's too hot, it's too cold, the soil isn't perfect. He can talk all he wants. But the farmer who plants the seeds, no matter how imperfect the conditions, will have a harvest, while the one who complains has only empty land. That's how life works. Excuses build nothing. Excuses feed no one. Excuses change nothing. Action is the only language life responds to. I've met people who spend more energy explaining why they can't than actually trying. They don't realize that every excuse is a brick in a wall that separates them from their own potential. But the moment you act, even clumsily, even imperfectly, that wall begins to crumble. And with each step, you get stronger, you get wiser, you get closer. Confucius once said, it does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. That's the standard. Progress over perfection. Movement over excuses. Every action, no matter how small, compounds into transformation. So understand this, the universe doesn't move for your complaints, it moves for your effort. It bends, it shifts, it responds when you show up and do the work. Stop telling the world why you can't and start proving to yourself why you can. Because your excuses may sound good, but your results will always speak louder. Nobody is coming to rescue you. Not your parents, not your friends, not your boss, not some mysterious stroke of luck. You've been waiting for a savior, but hear me clearly, there is no cavalry on the way. The only person who can pull you out of the hole, the only person who can unlock the next level of your life is you. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That strength isn't in someone else's hands, it's already in yours. We love to believe that if the right person noticed us, if the right opportunity knocked, if the right break came, everything would change. But opportunities don't come to those who wait. They come to those who prepare. Think about a soldier on the battlefield. If he waits for reinforcements that never arrive, he's defeated. But the one who digs in, who uses what he has, who refuses to surrender, that's the one who survives. Life is the same. You gotta stop outsourcing your destiny. Stop thinking a relationship will complete you. Stop believing a promotion will validate you. Stop assuming money will save you. None of those things matter if you're not willing to do the work. You can hand a man a map, but if he refuses to walk, he'll die in the desert. When you finally realize that no one is obligated to fix your life, that's when you become free. Because now the responsibility is yours, and with responsibility comes power. Power to change your habits, power to discipline your time, power to sacrifice today for a future that's bigger than your excuses. You owe it to yourself in 2025 to stop waiting for someone else's hand. Stand on your own feet, fight with your own strength, build with your own hands. Because the moment you stop waiting for rescue and start rescuing yourself, that's the moment you truly begin to live. Most people avoid facing the mirror because deep down they already know the truth. They know their choices, their habits, their patterns are the very reason they're not where they want to be. It's easier to look away than to confront that reality. But growth only begins when you stop lying to yourself. Socrates once declared, "The unexamined life is not worth living." And that examination isn't comfortable. It forces you to confront the ways you've been sabotaging your own future. Think about a man who plants weeds in his own garden, then wonders why no fruit grows. That's what happens every time you indulge laziness, every time you choose comfort over growth, every time you make excuses instead of progress. You're planting weeds in your own soil. And here's the truth, your life will only give back what you put into it. I've watched people say they want wealth, but spend every dollar on pleasure, say they want health, but refuse to put down the junk food, say they want greatness, but can't even discipline themselves to show up consistently. You can't desire one life and live another. The two don't match. The law of sowing and reaping is as old as time. You can't reap excellence from seeds of mediocrity. Aristotle taught that knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. To know yourself is not just to recognize your strengths, but to acknowledge your weaknesses. Honestly, maybe you've been inconsistent, maybe you've been lazy, maybe you've been distracted. That honesty is the first step to transformation, because you can't fix what you won't face. But stop running from the truth about your choices. Own them, because the habits that once gave you comfort are now costing you your destiny. And until you confront that reality, you'll keep circling the same mountain year after year. Don't just dream about the person you could become. Face the person you've been, because only when you face the hard truths about your life can you finally break free to live the one you were meant to create. Since excuses are comfortable, but they're deadly. They feel good in the moment because they remove the weight of responsibility. But every time you use one, you're building a prison with invisible bars. Cicero once said, "The greater the difficulty, the greater the glory in surmounting it." Yet instead of climbing the mountain, too many sit at the bottom telling stories about why they can't. Stories that sound convincing, but they keep you in chains. Picture this, a runner who trips in the first mile of a marathon. He can sit on the ground replaying that fall in his mind, justifying why the race is too hard. Or he can get back up, bruised and sore, and keep moving toward the finish line. The fall didn't end his race, his excuse did. That's the reality of life. Obstacles don't end dreams, excuses do. Every excuse is a thief. It steals time you can't get back, energy you'll never recover, opportunities that will never return. And the most dangerous thing about excuses is how logical they sound. I'm too tired. I don't have the resources. It's just not the right time. But if you look closer, those same words have been spoken by countless others who settled for mediocrity while greatness passed them by. The Stoics taught that difficulty is not an enemy, but a teacher. When you embrace that truth, you stop seeking a way out and start seeking a way through. You begin to understand that the only thing separating you from the life you want isn't the obstacle in front of you, it's the excuse you use to avoid climbing it. If you keep feeding your excuses, they will starve your future. But if you starve your excuses, your future will finally have room to breathe. Kill the excuse, and you free the greatness that's been trapped inside you all along. Motivation is fragile, it comes and goes like the wind. One day you wake up on fire, ready to conquer the world, and the next day you can't even pull yourself out of bed. That's why discipline must be your foundation. The ancient Spartan code demanded that warriors train every day, not when they felt like it, but because their survival depended on it. Discipline isn't about feelings, it's about commitment. As Heraclitus said, out of every 100 men, 10 shouldn't even be there, 80 are just targets, 9 are the real fighters, and 1 is a warrior. The warrior will bring the others back. Discipline is what separates the warrior from the crowd. Think about the athlete who runs sprints in the rain, the student who studies while everyone else is at the party, the worker who shows up before dawn while others are still sleeping. They don't do it because they feel motivated every day. They do it because discipline has become their identity. And once discipline becomes your identity, consistency becomes your weapon. I've seen too many people rely on motivation as if it's fuel that never runs out. But motivation is a spark, not a fire. Discipline is what keeps the flame alive when the spark fades. When you set a standard, waking up at a certain time, practicing your craft daily, protecting your body, protecting your mind, you build a rhythm that carries you even when your emotions don't. Aristotle taught, through discipline comes freedom. It sounds like a paradox, but it's the truth. Discipline frees you from being controlled by laziness, by distraction, by weakness. It frees you to live life on your terms because you've trained yourself to show up no matter what. Don't chase motivation, build discipline. Because a man or woman who shows up every day, rain or shine, tired or energized, inspired or uninspired, that's the one life rewards. Discipline will get you where motivation never could. Every dream has a price tag attached, and that price is sacrifice. You can't have it all. Comfort and greatness, distraction and focus, pleasure and purpose. One must die for the other to live. The great historian Thucydides once said, "The secret of happiness is freedom, and the secret of freedom is courage, and courage always requires sacrifice." If you want freedom from mediocrity, you must sacrifice the chains of laziness. If you want wealth, you must sacrifice careless spending. If you want strength, you must sacrifice the weakness of undisciplined living. Look at the farmer again. He sacrifices his seed, burying it in the dirt, letting it die so it can multiply into harvest. That's the law of life. What you are willing to give up determines what you will rise into. But most people cling to comfort and wonder why their lives never change. They want the crown without the cross, the reward without the work, the results without the risk. I've watched people waste years refusing to sacrifice their nights out, their meaningless entertainment, their bad habits, and then cry about why nothing changes. But the truth is simple. Every time you say yes to one thing, you are saying no to another. And if you keep saying yes to comfort, you are saying no to your calling. Consider the warrior who trains for battle. He sacrifices ease for endurance, leisure for preparation, comfort for readiness. Why? Because when the moment of truth comes, only sacrifice ensures survival. Life is the same. You cannot step into greatness carrying the baggage of everything you refuse to let go. So in 2025, you got to ask yourself, what are you willing to sacrifice? Because if the answer is nothing, then the truth is you don't really want what you say you want. Sacrifice is the currency of success, and only those willing to pay it will ever hold the life they dream about. The people in the environment you choose will either push you toward greatness or pull you into mediocrity. No one rises in isolation. You are shaped by what surrounds you, as the old proverb says. Tell me who your friends are, and I will tell you who you are. If you spend your days with those who complain, who make excuses, who chase comfort, you will eventually mirror them. But if you surround yourself with those who demand more of themselves, who live with discipline, who push beyond limits, you will rise to meet their standard. Think about iron sharpening iron. A blade cannot sharpen itself. It needs friction, it needs resistance. That's the role of the right people in your life. They challenge you, they refuse to let you settle. They expose your weaknesses not to shame you, but to make you stronger. Without that sharpening, you stay dull, incapable of cutting through the challenges that stand in your way. Your environment matters just as much. You cannot expect to grow if you keep planting yourself in toxic soil. Imagine a seed placed in polluted ground. It will wither no matter how much potential is inside it. In the same way, you cannot feed your mind on negativity, laziness, and distraction and expect to harvest excellence. I've seen people sabotage their future by staying in circles that drain them, in atmospheres that kill their hunger. They wonder why their fire dies, but the truth is simple. You can't burn bright if everyone around you is pouring water on your flame. Plato taught the direction in which education starts, a man will determine his future in life. Education doesn't only mean books, it means what you expose yourself to daily. Your conversations, your influences, your surroundings, that is your education. You owe it to yourself to guard your circle and choose your environment wisely. Because who and what surrounds you will either pull you down to regret or lift you up to destiny. Your future is too valuable to be left in polluted soil. Plant yourself where growth is not just possible, but inevitable. Knowledge alone will never change your life. You can read every book, attend every seminar, memorize every principle, and still stay exactly the same if you don't act. Wisdom only becomes power when it's applied. As the ancient philosopher Democritus said, many much learning men have no intelligence. What he meant was clear. You can collect knowledge like trophies on a shelf, but if you never use it, it's just decoration. Think about a man drowning in water. He could have studied every manual on swimming, memorized every stroke, even taken notes on breathing techniques. But when he falls into the river, none of that matters unless he moves his arms and kicks his legs. Knowledge without action is like carrying a lamp, but refusing to light it. You stay in darkness even while holding the answer in your hands. I've met people who spend years preparing, studying, and waiting until they feel ready, but readiness never comes because they never act. On the other hand, I've seen those who knew very little but stepped out boldly, and through action they gained the wisdom they needed. The battlefield has always been the greatest teacher, not the classroom. Heraclitus declared character is destiny, and character is not built by what you know, but by what you consistently do. You cannot build wealth just by studying money. You cannot gain strength just by reading about exercise. You cannot achieve greatness by simply admiring it in others. You must engage, act, fail, learn, and act again. So stop hoarding information like it will save you. Information is only potential. Transformation only comes when you act on what you already know. You owe it to yourself to stop waiting for perfect knowledge and start using what you have. Because knowledge alone is powerless, but knowledge put into action has the strength to rewrite your destiny. Fear is the great illusionist. It paints pictures in your mind of outcomes that almost never happen, and yet it convinces you to freeze, to retreat, to play small. The ancient poet Horace wrote, "He who has begun is half done. Dare to be wise, begin." But fear whispers that beginning is too risky, that failure is inevitable, that safety is better than pursuit. And because of that, countless dreams never even get a chance to breathe. Think of a child learning to walk. At first, every step is wobbly. Every attempt ends with a fall. If that child allowed fear to rule, they would never walk, never run, never explore. But they rise again and again until walking becomes second nature. That same principle is written into your life. Fear is only strong when you bow to it. The moment you step forward, despite the trembling, its power breaks. I've watched people avoid opportunities, not because they weren't capable, but because fear convinced them they weren't ready. And yet history is filled with men and women who dared despite fear. Alexander the Great wasn't fearless. He simply acted while others froze. The truth is, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move anyway. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca declared, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." That's what fear is, suffering in advance, rehearsing pain that hasn't even arrived. And while you sit rehearsing it, time passes, doors close, life moves on. But when you step in the fear, when you face it head on, you discover something powerful. Fear shrinks. What once looked like a mountain becomes a hill. What once felt impossible becomes manageable. Every time you act in the face of fear, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. Don't let fear dictate your choices. Let courage write your story. Because the only thing standing between you and the life you dream of is the illusion you keep believing. Fear is a lie, and the moment you stop bowing to it, you start living in truth. The perfect time is a myth. You keep telling yourself you start when things settle down, when you feel ready, when the stars align, but that day never comes. Time doesn't wait for you to be comfortable. It keeps moving, whether you act or not. Hesiod, one of the earliest Greek voices, warned, "Do not put your work off till tomorrow and the day after, for a sluggish worker does not fill his barn. Tomorrow is the thief of destiny, and it has stolen more dreams than failure ever has." Look at the farmer again. He doesn't wait for the perfect season, the perfect rain, or the perfect soil. He plants because he knows the harvest won't wait. If he delays, the opportunity passes and the land gives nothing back. That's your life. Every time you delay, every time you wait for the right moment, you miss the chance to grow. I've seen countless people wait years for the right time to change careers, to start a business, to chase a calling. But while they waited, others acted with less preparation, less knowledge, less confidence, and still succeeded. Why? Because action beats hesitation every single time. Plato once said the beginning is half of the whole. And that's the truth. Once you start, momentum carries you. But if you never take the first step, you remain stuck in the same place. Convincing yourself tomorrow will be easier when in reality it will only be harder. The clock doesn't stop. The year won't pause. The window of opportunity narrows with every delay. You owe it to yourself in 2025 to stop waiting, to stop rehearsing, to stop imagining a perfect tomorrow that will never exist. The time is not next month, not next year, not when you're more prepared. The time is now. And if you don't act now, you'll look back one day and realize the chance you were waiting for has already passed you by. Discipline is the bridge between desire and achievement. You can dream, you can hope, you can talk about what you want, but without discipline, it's just empty noise. Discipline is the proof that you truly mean what you say. Seneca, the great Stoic, reminded us, no man is free who is not master of himself. Freedom doesn't come from doing whatever feels good in the moment. Freedom comes from controlling your actions so they lead you where you want to go. Think about the soldier. He doesn't train only when he feels like it. He trains when it's raining, when it's freezing, when his body aches, because he knows the day will come when that preparation saves his life. Discipline is the same in your life. You don't wake up early just because it's easy. You do it because it builds the character and consistency you'll need when the world tests you. Too many people confuse motivation with discipline. Motivation is an emotion. It comes and goes like the wind. Discipline is a decision. It stays when you're tired, when you're discouraged, when the results are invisible. Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Discipline is excellence repeated daily. Look at your daily choices. Are you waiting for a spark of inspiration, or are you willing to show up no matter how you feel? Every skipped workout, every wasted hour, every excuse is a withdrawal from your future. Every disciplined action is a deposit into the life you say you want. Discipline is not punishment, it's investment. Every moment of sacrifice today buys you freedom tomorrow. You cannot afford to keep renting progress with half-hearted effort. You have to own it with relentless discipline. You owe it to yourself this year to stop depending on fleeting feelings and start depending on unshakable habits. Because motivation may start the engine, but only discipline will carry you to the destination. When you strip everything else away, it all comes down to this. You owe it to you, not to your boss, not to your family, not to the doubters or the haters. You owe it to yourself to show up for your own life. The decisions you make in 2025 will either pull you closer to the life you've been dreaming of or lock you deeper into the cycle you've been stuck in. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to do the work for you. But that's not a curse, that's your greatest blessing, because it means you hold the power. So stop waiting, stop blaming, stop giving your excuses more authority than your purpose. This is your year to demand more of yourself, to sacrifice, to stay disciplined, to keep pushing when it hurts, and to claim what you know belongs to you. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one. The same is true for you. Waste no more time debating. If you can succeed, be the one who does. You owe it to yourself in 2025. So rise, move, and go get what's already waiting for you.